Welcome to Five Guys Movies and Fries. I am your host today. My name is Joe. We also got Will.
Heyo.
We got Nakula.
Yo.
And we got Jeff.
Yo.
How's it going, gentlemen?
Great.
Today we are talking about Terrence Young's Wait Until Dark, which stars Audrey Hepburn from Breakfast at Tiffany's and My Fair Lady, Alan Arkin, who I know as the old man from Little Miss Sunshine, and he pops in a few other movies. What's your guys' point of reference for Alan Arkin?
Hold on, I'm looking right now. J.D. Salinger from BoJack for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, everyone talks about him like they know him from so many things, but I think he was an old man in Home Alone too. I don't know.
Me?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay. Argo as well. I thought he was pretty good in that.
Yes,
Okay.
I think that's the
What?
first thing I recognized him in was Argo.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, he was a young man in this, and he's an old man now. He's been playing an old man for like 40 years. He's still with us. We also got Richard Crenna in the role as Mike Tellman. Efram Zimbalist Jr., what a name,
What a name.
plays Sam Hendricks, and Jack Weston plays the criminal Carlino. This movie is based on a play that premiered just a year or two before it was adapted into a movie. The play was written by Fred Knott, who also wrote the play Dial M for Murder, which was made into a movie directed by Alfred Hitchcock. And this movie has the score was done by Harry Mancini, who wrote the Pink Panther theme and Moon River from Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know he did the Pink Panther theme. That fits, though.
Oh, yeah.
Very unique style.
I want to talk a little bit about Audrey Hepburn because she's probably my favorite actress. She's so easily recognizable. I feel like when I watch old movies, a lot of the time the women are just a conventionally attractive blonde or a conventionally attractive brunette. But Audrey Hepburn, no one looks like her. And part of the reason is she's so rail thin. It's believed that she's like that because she suffered malnourishment during World War II. Her family lived in Holland, and there was scarce food during that time.
Interesting.
Some people believe that she was a spy during World War II, but apparently that's not true. It's true that she did entertain like resistance troops at the time, but it's Hedy Lamarr who was a spy during World War II that Quentin Tarantino took to make his movie Inglourious Bastards, and he influenced that a little bit.
Oh, I didn't know that either. That's cool.
Yeah, that is a real fact. Audrey Hepburn took a break from acting after this movie. She didn't act for about 10 years until, I think, 1976. She was in a Robin Hood movie, and I don't know anything about the movie she made after that point in time. But during her break, she focused on raising her kids in her humanitarian work. If you don't know, she was an ambassador for UNICEF. She took trips to Ethiopia, Turkey, and other places. She's also one of the first people to get the EGOT award. Well, actually, EGOT's not. It's not an award. It's if you've got all four of them, then you get the EGOT. But she got
Emmy,
it
Grammy, Oscar, and Tony.
Emmy, yep, you got it. But she won two of them after her death. She got it posthumously, yeah. So I guess she was buried with the EGOT gold chain you get, like Tracy Morgan wore on 30 Rock. She was buried with it.
Interesting fact about Audrey Hepburn. My aunt always tried to style her voice after her since she was like a child, and I only put that together after watching this movie like 2 days ago.
Wait, so how do you know that?
Well, I talked to my grandma, and my grandma was like, "Yeah, that's totally who she was, like doing that." And I was like, "Oh, that makes perfect sense." And my aunt looks a lot like Audrey, and like would use those kind of mannerisms, like the kind of mannerisms she uses in a lot of her movies.
Yeah, she's very posh, but at the same time, she's grounded and very sympathetic. And she had a career as a humanitarian.
My aunt was definitely more of just the posh part.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But same, like almost exactly sounds the same. And I was just like,
Huh.
man, that sounds just like my aunt. Wait a minute.
I thought you were going to say maybe your aunt was Audrey Hepburn and you just found out about it.
No, my aunt was very, very beautiful, but not as pretty as Audrey. She's
Oh, okay.
unbelievably beautiful.
Yeah. Anyway, the last fact I got about the background is that she studied with the blind to make this movie, and she learned Braille.
Oh, well, she did a pretty good job, I thought. I've got some thoughts on her blind portrayal, but I think that may have been problems with the writing more than her.
Oh, you got problems. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear that.
Hey.
All right. Anyway, I want to hear your guys' initial thoughts, but I do want to go first because I love this movie so much. I love that there's so many small details, and these small details matter. This movie rewards you from rewatching it, and it answers questions you had the first time and the second time you watch it. So many details could be overlooked, but there are so many important things. I love when characters have hidden information and when the movies reveal information to the audience in smart ways. I love movies that take place in a single room. Movies that are based on plays tend to do that. I feel like the room is a character in this movie in a way. And
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's this literary quality to it.
That room has so much character to it too. It's such a unique layout and like even just like down to like the window blinds like being on that little crank that she uses, like I loved it. It was fucking fantastic set design.
Yeah, a lot of it's probably because, different things have gone obsolete, like the random window blinds that you crank or whatever, and the old fridge and stuff.
Yeah.
I love how in an early scene, Gloria throws a bunch of shit around, and then there's a knife on the floor, which becomes a Chekhov's knife the moment she says, "I'll put it back where you can find it," and she does need the knife later in the movie. There's an early reference to the fridge in the movie and how it wasn't unplugged to de-thaw because Gloria says she didn't want to do it that way. You can just set it to de-thaw. But Sam says you have to unplug it and pour boiling water on it. But Gloria didn't want to do that. And this is important later because Rote outsmarts Susie at the end when Susie had smashed all but one light, but forgot that the fridge also has a light.
Yeah.
And it had been established that the fridge was still plugged in at that point. I love Hepburn murders, suspense, hidden information, and smooth talking con men. So this is a really great movie to me. What do you think about it, Will?
Oh, I loved it. I want to say like the first like 45 minutes, I wasn't like totally sold. I was like, okay, this is like pretty good, but a little slow and not really, seeing where they're going with this and stuff. And then as it started kind of ramping up, once the guys got in the in there and started really doing their thing, and then man, just seeing like Alan Arkin, like he's so good as the creepy murderer, whatever, drug stealing psychopath. I don't know.
It's not. Yeah, we don't know what he is exactly.
Yeah, and I honestly, I'm pretty sure he's just like a fucking serial killer. Like, and like I have a feeling that he works for like the mafia or the mob or something, and that's why he's trying to get these drugs. But I don't know. That's all just like in my headspace, kind of, But yeah, no, he was fucking fantastic, and then just so much chameleon acting with him, like switching roles like 3 times, and that was all great. And all the other actors did a pretty good job. But obviously Audrey was the star of the show, and she fucking crushes it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really liked it though. This movie, probably one of the best ones we've watched in my opinion.
That's so hard. Yeah, that's weird because I was worried that you guys wouldn't like this that much coming off Silence of the Lambs.
It's such a nice switch up in my eyes because it is obviously horror, but just completely different style.
I feel like this is a perfect follow-up to Silence of the Lambs because I see a lot same things here. I see I see a woman determined to survive, but still kind of frightened.
Okay.
And all because of the main. I guess I wouldn't compare Hannibal to be like the main villain in. He's definitely the anyway. Woman reacting to the environment that's been created from the villain, and ends with a dark scene, a lights out scene.
Hey, you're right. Yeah, I didn't notice that. Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
What'd you think of it, Knack, generally?
Oh yeah, overall, I really liked watching this movie. But I didn't somehow I didn't spend a lot of time noticing all the little details throughout the apartment and the room, like you say, because you know, he's like you say, it's its own character. And there may be a couple times where I've tried looking at the schedule that was written on the chalkboard and things like that, and little fucking there was some kind of like what looked like might have been a pepper grinder on the stove that had sort of like a woman's figure painted on it in a way. Not just a woman's figure. It was anyway. It was a little design. But no. Overall, like the mystery, just the mystery and the way it was all kind of coming together just really drew me in. I really liked watching this movie from beginning to end. But I am along with the same path that it took me, because it spends so much time building up, that it wasn't until I didn't qualify it as, I had trouble qualifying it as a horror film until that the final scenes.
Right.
I
The
would
last
argue that
10
it
minutes,
really
yeah.
isn't a horror film until like the last back quarter. Really.
Yeah. It's I don't know, it's hard to like quantify it, because it's like it's almost like these three con men are playing, like putting on a play for Audrey's character. I don't know, that's kind of like the feeling that I got from it.
Yeah, you could call it a psychological thriller. And obviously the last 10 minutes are pure horror. I've heard Stephen King called this the scariest movie.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Conceptually, maybe.
Well,
Yeah.
it's his opinion.
I mean, it makes, I mean, honestly, as I was watching the movie and like really seeing her struggle with being blind, it like, I mean, I've thought about that shit before, obviously, but she did a fantastic job of like expressing how horrific it is to be blind and be so fucking helpless. I mean, obviously a lot of that's Audrey's acting. Like, man, some of those screams that she was doing were pretty chilling. I know Jeff didn't feel the same way, but I don't know, while I was watching it, I was like, ooh.
I loved what a combination of I loved how well Hepburn played a blind person, but in combination, whether it was just her or the writing, it was good about letting you know that she has been blind for very long. She's still learning to be a blind person, you know.
Well,
when she knocks the salt shaker off the table before Sam leaves, that's one thing that.
Well, I'm not sure that because she was blind when she met Sam. And
Yes.
I actually have some thoughts about that. So here's the thing, is like this movie wants her to be like this strong female protagonist, but the reason that she is that strong female protagonist is because Sam pushes her to go to classes and be the world's best blind person. So like, she isn't her, she is what Sam made her. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's most likely a product of the time, but
no, because I was going to say that absolute same thing. It's just, she's so determined to overcome and just keep moving forward. But at the same time, it was what she said at the beginning of the movie. I'm whatever you want me to be.
Yeah, she did say
lacked,
that. Yeah.
It lacked,
she even acts like a brat about it. You know what I mean? And then he's like, well, you know what it's just,
yeah,
that whole dynamic in the beginning, it feels like they couldn't just have it be her being that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
She had to be that way.
I wanted her to
Sam
be her own person so much. Like,
Yeah.
she's just,
Yeah.
she's so, yeah. she's hung up on wanting to be whatever, just say what you want and I'll be that. It was difficult to hear, but it's like her performance overall is fucking amazing.
True. But the flip side of that is like she definitely comes into her own like in the last half. Like she's the one who figures out to break all the light bulbs and like all that whole sequence was all her, and I really liked that.
Yeah, that's what the movie's about. It's her journey, and I totally agree that at the beginning it's a product of the time. I feel like they should have written her character differently. And I also I would take points off for the problematic age gap. Like Audrey Hepburn has never had a love interest her own age except for in Breakfast at Tiffany's, I think. She was in a movie called Funny Face with Fred Astaire, who was like 45 years older than her.
But it's Fred Astaire.
I know. And also they did the thing where like they pretend Audrey Hepburn is not good looking because it's called Funny Face when clearly she is.
Yeah.
She's had
a stretch.
And that's why she's so beloved, because she endured Hollywood in the kind of roles they make her do. Jeff, we kind of passed you over. Do you have initial thoughts? Like it? Didn't like it?
Fucking loved it. I loved it a lot. I really want to point at Alan Arkin in this movie and how much I loved Alan Arkin in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He is intimidating as hell, especially in the back order. It's a little side note, but I love that the credits made sure to tell us that he played all those other characters as well. Like we weren't fucking aware.
Yes.
No, that was brilliant. That was so cool. Yeah, I love that. I also love that the credits have a song, and the title of the song is the name of the movie. Like you never see that nowadays.
Yeah, I love that too. I did notice it's like a Bond film has its own, a title song. You don't see it. You really don't see it.
For music in general.
You haven't seen that sort of thing for a long time outside of Bond films, I bet. But yeah. Very, very nice.
Yeah, he seems like the most potent person in the room. You know what I mean? Like in the beginning, when you see him in the room with those other two guys, he has the upper hand the entire time. He has the upper hand every time he's in the room. Like he always is just in command. You know what I mean? At no point do you believe he isn't. And when he like just comes in as like final boss at the end of the movie, and he's just like, I'm gonna dump gasoline everywhere and just fucking toy with you. Like he's just evil. Like he feels evil. You know what I mean?
He
and
has
like
this menacing
glasses and shit, and like that dopey ass haircut. Like I don't know. He's just good. He's definitely what pulled my attention in this flick. I also really like the music in this movie a lot. I thought the score was phenomenal. Let's see.
Yeah, he's got like this
I'm a big fan of
to him that is just like fucking horrifying. Like you said, he seems like the most like potent person in the room. I can definitely get behind that. He's like he's always got the upper hand. Like you hit it right on the head with that, dude.
Yeah, he just I don't know. I really liked him in this.
I've never seen any other things with him like from that era. Does he have like similar roles from back then, Joe? Do you know?
No, I don't think he normally played a villain.
God, he should have more often. He fucking annihilates that role in this movie.
He's sort of like an eccentric creep of a villain. Like his glasses, his weird haircut. He has a leather jacket. He's always wearing gloves.
There's definitely, I feel like a lot of villains have been pulled from that character. Like there's definitely, I can't think of anyone in particular right now, but like there's definitely like a lot of weird bowl cut, like, weird glasses styling. Fuck, man, the guy from what the fuck is Sandman? Like the guy who the Corinthian, like he fucking was probably pulled from that character somewhat. Like they definitely have some similarities.
I was comparing him to sorry, we're talking about Arkin, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fucking I compared the villain to Javier Bardem's villain in For Old Men with that haircut, with the haircut and fucking
that kind of weird menacing nature. Yeah. this like just this like this power, this like not evil power. That's not the right way to put it, but you know what I mean. Like he's just got this like strength and menace to him that he just exudes like this evilness.
I wish we could have gotten more play between him and the other two criminals. Like what are they actually cops? They're actually cops, right?
No, I don't.
One of them's actually a cop.
He's referred to as a sergeant. I'm not sure about it,
I
though.
think they're retired. I'm pretty sure that they were.
Because
The other one was a detective, and he was a sergeant, I believe. And they both, I assume, were probably like kicked off the force or whatever because of some shady shit they were up to.
That could
yeah,
be the
because doesn't
case.
Rote mention that he's got all the background on those two fucking Carini? Am I getting that right?
Carlino.
Carlino, thank you. Fuck,
Carlino. What a name.
He says that Carlino just fucking like Planet Evan just fucking roughed up somebody because he was a cop or
Yep.
Yeah, he used his power for his fucking to try to rough up his cheating wife's boyfriend or some shit. But yeah.
And I'm like 90% sure somebody refers to Mike as a detective at some point. Like earlier on in the movie, like one of those two refer to him in that way. So I'm pretty sure he was like a detective, not on the force. But this is all shit that I might be making up. I don't know.
For them
Yeah,
to
I don't know.
on each other at the end, we didn't really get enough play between them for that to play right with me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, Rote did give an explanation to Susie. He said that he knew they were going to betray him. He just realized it before they did.
Yeah. I love that. That was so great. I was like, oh, dude, that car scene with the car just going back and forth like 30 times. I was fucking cackling.
That's a good scene because you don't know who's murdering who at that point.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely them murdering Alan Arkin's character. I was
No,
like, oh, yeah,
I wasn't
okay.
convinced. I really wasn't convinced it
Oh?
was Rote dying because there you see Carlino's hat. You see Carlino's hat go up in the air towards one of those last fucking frames, and no, I was absolutely not convinced. I was convinced fucking Rote was on just turning everything to his favor. Yeah.
Plus, it's impossible to believe that Rote isn't going to be the like final boss at the end of this movie. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it's like for him to just go out in that scene getting run over a bunch of times like it's a Looney Tunes cartoon. That just doesn't seem like the end his character would have gotten.
No. I got a question for you guys as we talk about the plot. Like, have you found any plot holes? Because I've combed through this movie all day today, asking myself questions and figuring out answers.
Yes.
Because I feel like this movie, it's pretty airtight. I mean, you can always poke holes in any movie. Like, you could ask, why don't the criminals just kidnap Audrey Hepburn, tie her up, and torture her to give her the answer from the start? But
I didn't have any issues with that. I'll get into my issue now. So
sure, yeah.
She's blind, but she should definitely have been able to smell them. And they talk about that later when she references that there was like cigarette smoke and she thought somebody else was there.
She thought it was Gloria, yeah.
Yes. However, she walks right next to that dead body. Dead bodies reek, dude. Even after a day, they fucking reek. Because as soon as you kill somebody, they shit and piss their pants. Like, that's what happens every single time. She should have been able to smell that shit. That was my big problem with the movie. And that might have been part of why I didn't like the first half as much.
Yeah.
But eventually I was just like, whatever. It was like the 60s. They probably just like didn't even think about that or something, like they weren't as airtight with their writing back then, I feel. Because they didn't have like a whole team of people scouring the movie to make
shot.
I feel like it's like, even with that, I still feel like it is more airtight than modern movies, but that is a valid point.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, but a large part of that too is like modern movies are just like fucking Marvel garbage and shit like that.
I mean, think about this. What if he cleaned her? What if he cleaned her body?
Well, I could get behind that, but he definitely did not have enough time to do that. He like the way that he worded it was like he just had murdered her and then like stuffed her in there.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That's fair. That is.
Sorry, Joe. Your perfect movie is.
I'm taking a point off.
It's not a 10 out of 10. No, honestly, that was literally like my one issue that I noticed. I'm sure there's other little things, but that was the only thing that was glaring to me. And at a certain point, I was like, I don't even give a shit anymore because these fucking actors are killing it, and this is so good. Like, who cares?
I can't say I spotted any holes in the story, but for some reason, Time Magazine said it had the story is as full of holes as a kitchen coriander or colander. Excuse me. Colander.
Yeah.
Well, fuck them.
Chicken colander. What am I doing?
They don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, I feel like their lie is pretty airtight in terms of plot. Like they know exactly what they're doing to get her to slowly realize that there's a connection between Sam and the dead woman, Luciana, and that the doll connects them. They have multiple different angles to get her to believe that, and then she comes to the conclusion on her own. And she tries to help them find the doll, but it's just not there.
Yeah. No, I liked all that stuff. Their whole plot to convince her and get it out of her and everything is great.
6 different people came barging into her apartment over the course of like 20 minutes was
3
kind
people.
of outlandish.
But she's like blind and she's a woman. I mean, come on.
Well, like old man comes through the door, steals a picture, leaves. Then Sergeant shows up. Then this long lost friend shows up. Then the kid shows up. It's like, holy shit! Like,
it's like a play. They put on a play for her.
It's like an episode of Seinfeld or Three's Company. People are always just coming and going if you have an apartment.
Yeah. Mike busts in the door and does that like weird hand thing that Kramer does.
I do like that this movie trusts us to pick up on a lot of things, but it makes it more glaring the things that it doesn't trust. Like when we have to see the close up of the guy's notebook and it says like phone booth and then the phone number like perfectly written in this notebook, so we know that they're calling a phone booth. It's like we probably could have picked that up from a visual cue.
No,
you know
the time
they show us the phone booth anyways.
Well, that was important in one scene because he was giving Susie. He was supposed to be giving her a phone number so that she could call him at his hotel or at his friend's house or whatever. But he was actually giving her the phone booth number.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Like, there's like a bunch of like little things that are like I wouldn't say they're necessarily even holes. It's just like, oh, like this could have been maybe written like slightly better. But I mean, come on, this movie, the plot and the writing in this movie were pretty fucking great. And we all agree with that. So
one thing I had a little bit of trouble with was wrote mentions that, remember, there's a girl, Glory, little girl in red. She's in the building, and yet they're parked right outside. Their van is parked literally right there. Yet he knows the girl is inside.
Oh, which wrote mentioned that?
Fucking Junior.
Right.
The original. Yeah. Like,
okay. Well, the original's
before they go in to start the act and pick up their parts before they initially start pulling the trick on her. He's like, now watch out for the girl. Watch out for her. There's a girl in the building, so watch out for her. And
so you're saying that they should have been
parked about a block away. If this girl can't, I guess it's if she's just considered a child and isn't smart enough to look out the window and notice that these guys walking in and out of a fucking van while all this shit's going on. I don't know. It's small, but I feel like they could have been more discreet with where they were fucking parked.
Probably, absolutely, but they also didn't really know how much Susie depends on Gloria and that she's sort of her helper.
Yeah.
So they thought Gloria would just be doing her own thing in her apartment.
She's a kid. Like, they're just like, it's just some
That's what I mean.
kid.
Yeah,
like, who cares?
Yo, Gloria was the real MVP of this movie.
Gloria was a little fucking biatch for like the first little bit, though.
Yeah, she was a snot for the first, couple scenes, but
dude, when literally I wrote in my notes, wow, Gloria sucks, when she fucking like threw all the shit on the ground. I was like, this fucking little bitch, like, what the fuck? This poor blind lady, like, and then she's like, well, you did call me a monster. Oh yeah, that makes it all right. I'm sorry.
Well,
fuck that.
It was established that other children at school were calling her a monster.
Yeah, well, she fucking is. So.
No, I agree with you. But she only threw Unbreakables, Will. She only threw Unbreakables.
Yeah.
That scene was so cheesy. I don't like it. It plays like a PSA.
Like, however,
yeah.
I will say, do we have a, well, we do have a favorite quote section. Okay, I'll wait then. I'll wait.
Absolutely.
Yo,
Yeah, took that one
Doc
away.
Ock.
Oh, Doc
Doc
Ock.
Ock!
He looks like Doc Ock.
Doc Ock!
He looks like Dr. Octavius.
All right, podcast's over.
Yeah, no, he looks like an OG comic book style, like Doc Ock with the sunglasses and
That's
that
cool.
fucking haircut, dude.
He might
Also,
have-
a
might have been
menacing,
in-
creepy guy.
He might have been invented before this movie, though. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but he probably didn't have that look, I don't think. Like, I
Okay.
remember he definitely had like the octo arms and the trench coat. But I don't think he had like the black.
Regardless when they were made, it's all about getting that, getting
Yeah.
that recognition as a villain
Yeah,
even for our own generation.
Exactly. No, that's gold.
Dude, I want to talk about the scene where actually, are we moving on to scenes yet? I can hold on to this.
If you want to talk about one, yeah. Well, I have some questions for you guys before we talk about favorite scenes. Like, what?
Okay.
How do you think this movie uses suspense well? Because
Um,
there's so many suspenseful scenes. Like, I think one of the ones that's lesser represented is when the three villains meet for the first time, and Rote asks them to give up their weapons. And
Yes.
one of the guys pulls out brass knuckles. The other guy, what is he? He doesn't have a gun.
He had a knife, I think.
He had a
Yeah,
knife.
he had a blade. He had a blade. It was like a
Oh,
shaving
switch.
razor.
Shaving
It was
razor,
a shaving
yes.
razor.
And in that moment, you're thinking like, oh shit, if they get into a fight, it's going to be bad. But now he's got all the weapons, and you're just wondering if they're actually going to fight. And they do. It's kind of anticlimactic because Rote just gives up so quickly. But I feel like planting the idea that a big fight could happen with brass knuckles and knives and everything just puts suspense in your mind.
Yeah,
Real
I
nice,
liked
yeah.
that scene a lot. That was a really good one. Fuck, I don't know. I definitely most of the scenes, like once the lights were out, and especially when she was trying to deal with Rote, like there was just a lot of good stuff.
Lighting the matches. Yeah, it was. I mean,
Yeah.
we were right in the middle of a very suspenseful scene, so I don't know about how much it was about building it up, but her getting closer and closer, asking just in command to keep tapping.
Mm-hmm. Louder,
While
louder.
while she lights these matches. Just like it's amazing that place just it's fucking gasoline. It should have gone up in flames. like,
Yeah, the fumes alone.
20 minutes ago, but
Well, yeah, that scene is so suspenseful because it's like a game of cat and mouse. They're trading weapons. 1 minute Susie's got his blade in the matches, and then he figures out how to open the fridge, and then he's got them all back again, and then she's got a knife that you see her grab, and then they're in darkness, and then someone gets stabbed. You're not sure who for a few seconds, and then she's on her own, trying to get through the door, and then that scene where she's running away and he jumps through the air is such an iconic scene.
I
from
jumped
this
both
movie.
times. Both times I watched this movie, I jumped almost just right out of my chair when he did that.
Phenomenal.
He kept in
jump
dark.
scare.
He just leaps from the darkness, dude. It's fucking insane.
Did not see that coming at all. Like literally, was like,
One of
whoa!
the God best jump scares I've ever seen.
And the
Yes.
music kicks
So-
in. The music kicks in perfectly too.
Oh.
The music is on cue.
Well, here's the thing about that. That's the original jump scare
Is it?
Is it really?
That's where they came from?
because he jumps. Yeah.
Yes, that's so good. Holy shit, this movie's amazing. 11 out of 10, bro. Like, fuck, man, that's awesome.
I will. Anyway, what are we doing next?
Well, I got a question for you guys about hidden information. Do you guys like hidden information in movies? Like,
What do you mean? Like,
I like it, even though I don't notice it half the time.
I know.
It's hidden. It's fucking.
Can you give an example from the movie?
Like, yeah, like I love the part. My favorite part of this movie might be where Gloria and Susie develop that code that's going to let them know if Carlino is using the phone booth.
Mm.
So they develop a code that Gloria will call, let the phone ring twice, and then hang up. And that happens while Carlino's in the room, I believe. Or it must have been Rote using, or I think it actually was What's
Mike?
Mike's? Yeah, Mike was using the phone, but Gloria had no
That-
idea who he was.
That's a great scene when Audrey realizes that it's Mike, and she's like freaks out, dude. That fucking scream that she does at that moment, I was like, oh, that sucks.
Exactly. That's what it's building towards, is that she had this code that they developed, and the code inadvertently informs her that Mike was in cahoots with the other criminals the whole time.
Yeah. How long have you known?
I know.
So good. So good.
It's brilliant because it's got a secret code, and then she figures it out inadvertently. I just love stuff like that in movies.
Yeah,
This
that was
movie's
good.
clever as shit. Like, really, I think there's a lot of really clever stuff like that in here. I absolutely love the bit where she reveals that she's picked up on all these different things that have been happening around the apartment. She's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you guys are
Yes.
opening and closing the blinds all the time. Those shoes sounded the same. I'm surprised you haven't picked up on this. It's like, holy
Yeah.
shit.
When she finally
Yeah.
revealed how much she ahead of them.
And I
She
think that's
is.
important to the suspense for this movie, is because she is trusting and sweet. You know what I mean? Like, she believes that Mike isn't in cahoots with everybody else, even though given the situation, you could easily come to that conclusion. You know what I mean? And I think the fact that she is like somehow not like naive per se, but trusting, but also clever enough to pick up on all these different things is phenomenal.
And they just underestimate that she won't hear stuff like that.
Yep.
It's a good thing her man made her go to class to learn all this stuff.
And the other thing she
It
caught was
undermines the
that
whole movie for me, man.
Yeah,
It really does.
I mean, I guess it's partially because she's devastated. Like I can understand her feeling helpless. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the other thing she catches on is that people are rubbing to try and erase their fingerprints while they're in there, especially Carlino.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
And like the second he walks in, he's rubbing stuff, trying to get rid of fingerprints.
And she was like, why was the sergeant like cleaning so much stuff? Like he was dusting. That's what she says. She was like, he was dusting a bunch
that's
of
it.
things. Yeah, that was good.
And they took her for a fool.
She was anything but.
I know. What are your guys' favorite scenes? I know, Jeff, you wanted to mention one.
Yeah, that scene with the reveal for her is definitely it for me.
Yeah.
I love the look on his face when she just busts him out on all of that. Like, and it caught me off guard too, because I didn't pick up on the fact, like, we have it playing in the background over here, and I'm like kind of low key watching it while we're talking about it. And in a lot of the scenes when they're doing stuff like that, if you watch her, you can see her picking up on it. Like, you can see her like ears perking up, or her like looking in the direction when they're doing something, but you're not paying attention to that because you're paying attention to the people who are talking and being animated in the scene. I think that's, you were talking about multiple watches. I think that's why this movie would lend to that, is simply because there's just so much happening on screen with every, like, for instance, we just got past the scene where they cut the phone line. I didn't catch them cutting the phone line the first time I watched this. I saw her like follow the line up to find out where it was cut or whatever. And I was like, that's kind of cute watching her like follow that line or whatever. They must have cut it while she was talking to them. But I was just so entranced watching the performance between her and Mike that I didn't pick up on Alan in the background pulling it up with the cane and snipping it.
Yeah, which is great. He's so like lithe in a creepy way throughout the movie. Alan Arkin, man, that dude can act. Like, holy shit.
What about you, Will? Do you got a favorite scene?
Let me take a look at here. Like I said earlier, this was the movie that I wrote the most notes for ever. But I don't know if I was specific about any scenes. Definitely really loved the first scene with all of them. Yeah, when they go into the house, and then they're like, like the first time that all three of the criminals are together, and like that whole scene is fantastic. I really loved the like few scenes where Alan Arkin kept coming in as different characters, and like that all of that was really good. Let me see here. like Jeff said, the one where she notices a bunch of shit, I literally wrote in my notes in caps, "Oh shit, she noticed a whole lot." Really like that one. Oh yeah, and then the car murder scene, because the fucking car just like goes for it, dude. Like that car was chewing up the scenery. Like, holy fuck.
Literally.
It just keeps going. After like the fourth or fifth time, it's like, that dude's definitely dead. And then it just keeps fucking going. Like literally like 20 fucking times. And honestly, for me, that kind of lends a little more credence to the idea that Alan Arkin's character wrote is just like a true psychopath, like not even like doesn't give a shit about human life, and like really fucking crazy. So
Oh, he probably is.
yeah.
What about you?
Seems pretty likely.
What do you got, Knack? Or favorite scene?
I've got to go with the scene where her and Gloria are signaling through the pipes, and Susie realizes that all three of them are against her.
Oh yeah,
I just because it's so much, it's building up by so much incrementally at that point that it hits me too hard to ignore it as anything else other than frightening as hell.
I love that so much. Yeah,
her fucking screams, like, I don't know. Jeff thought it was corny, but I was like sold every fucking time that she was freaking out.
It's a little overacted, my guy.
I don't know about
going
that.
at her face and shit. She's like,
That was the times, man.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I get it. It like because of our generation, it is corny as fuck. But also, people are still like experiencing the like cinema. Like,
yeah.
You
like
know,
back
people
then,
were
dude,
so much more easily immersed back then
yeah.
that I feel, it's not an agreement or a disagreement. Just trying to make a point. I guess.
No, Knacker agrees with me.
I think it's a little bit of both.
That's what I mean. I'm just trying to see both sides. I'm just emphasizing both sides.
Because I feel like screams have been overplayed during the 70s, 80s, 90s, so it's kind of a cheap thing to do, because like anyone can scream, you can show a reaction, and it kind of makes it look lazy because you don't have to show something else if you do screaming instead. And they're not supposed to be terrifying, but
the way that she does it, I don't know. I was sold the whole time. It didn't seem corny to me.
Gotcha.
But I was kind of in, like, I kind of got into the movie for sure by that point. Like, I felt like I was in it, you know. So I was like part of that era, I guess, is the best way I can describe it. I don't know. Didn't seem corny to me. Jeff's just wrong. Let's move on.
Well, I got a favorite scene here. Well, actually, I got about 4. The cat and mouse game between Rote and Susie, when their power structure changes, as she gets the advantage when she smashes the light, and then he gets the advantage when he opens the fridge. I just love that game they play.
Yeah,
it is so interesting because she's so vulnerable during that scene. It's like,
dude,
like from the beginning, if you're watching this for the first time, you must be thinking, how can a blind lady overpower this guy? He's got weapons too.
She's so smart about it. Oh, I fucking love it.
I love her plan.
She's so conniving, and that's good shit.
She's a lot like Alan Arkin, except she uses her powers for good, in a way. No.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
one thing I did kind of notice as we've been chatting is that the opening scene shows the doll being cut open, and right. I thought that was a great opening shot. Just seeing, almost any times for some reason I can watch a lot of fucking gory shit sometimes, but if I see a scalpel move the right way, like I'll get a little itchy, you know.
Oh, weird. Okay.
But
the same way, like with the
surgery scenes, like deep surgery scenes, like that, like the similar to like the titanium plate and Teton, but
yeah, I wouldn't expect anyone to pick any scene within the first like hour of it, but that's two scenes you mentioned.
But what I was trying to say is that it opens with a scene of the doll being cut open, but it also almost the last scene is somebody getting cut, and you don't exactly know who's been cut in the final struggle.
Yeah, when they're both in the dark. Yeah, exactly. Other scenes I do want to mention, it's already been talked about a lot, but when she finds out that Mike's in cahoots, I love that reveal. And it wasn't mentioned, but I love Susie and Mike's final scene. She was sitting in a rocking chair, rocking back and forth. He's saying, I went to the photography studio. There was no desk there. And he's trying to be a little mean with her, but you can tell he still respects her and likes her.
No shit. That scene is playing right now.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
How
Playing
long
in the
have you
background
known?
right this moment.
I love it because usually when someone walks into a room and someone else is in a chair, it means the person in the chair is the villain. But in this case, she's sort of using the rocking chair as like a comfort thing.
I thought so too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
I've
love. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
I've seen other movies that do something like this. Like I just watched this, I think it's called Hush, with this deaf girl who's like being stalked or with like this killer or whatever. Kind of the same idea of like somebody being vulnerable, but like when I see stuff like that, the dynamic usually changes and they become like badass G.I. Jane. You know what I mean? And in this, she feels vulnerable through the movie. You know what I mean? Especially at the end, she feels insanely vulnerable. Like you don't really ever feel like she has an upper hand. It all feels very last minute survivor instinct. You know what I'm saying? And I dig that a lot.
Yeah.
It's so tense.
Very
That
realistic.
whole last like 20 minutes is, and the music lends to that so much because it just keeps fucking building. It does that. I don't know what it's called, but it does that thing that you can do with just sounds where you keep like pumping them up by 1 decibel, or not decibel, where you keep one of you guys probably, Knacker probably knows what I'm talking about, like where you keep like pitching it up slightly and then like looping it like that, and it keeps like building and just making it more and more tense. And
If you mean like a song that constantly builds from beginning to end, it's a crescendo. Yeah.
It's like that, and like it's, I don't know,
Or never mind. It doesn't have to be from beginning to end, but crescendos generally have this, steady or slow build up in volume or instrumentation.
just keeps pitching up over and over and kind of looping like
yeah.
that. The music for this movie was like really discordant and like kind of like almost at certain points a little hard to listen to, and I feel like that lended to the horror aspects of it a lot as well.
100%.
The reason for
But
that is
also,
because some
This
of the
movie knows restraint. Sorry, didn't mean to talk over you.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I do want to hit on, because you guys were just talking about how the music is discordant. It's some of the instruments were out of tune with each other when he originally recorded it.
Oh, that's fucking awesome. What a great fact to know about the movie. That's fucking great.
And one of the performers said they were feeling sick because he didn't tell them when
That's
they were
awesome.
performing the score. Yeah, what were you going to say, Jeff?
This movie has the restraint to cut the music when it needs to, and I respect the hell out of that, especially for the time. Like that bit leading up to the jump scare, it's all nice and quiet. You see her like moving across the room. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't overpower the movie.
Absolutely. Well, I got one more favorite scene. It's not really a scene, but just a picture on the poster of the movie. It's her holding the match. I just love that because it sort of symbolizes like her power is this little match, and she's in a sea of darkness.
Yeah, that's great.
I think it's beautiful. Let's talk about favorite quotes. This movie, it's not very quotable, to be honest. Like, there's not quotes you can say in any situation, like "I'm having a friend for dinner" or "I'm ready for my close-up." But
I got one for you.
I'm taking the obvious one.
Knack, no, you go ahead, Knack.
All right, I'm taking the obvious one. It's,
are you looking at me? Pissed. Yeah.
Are you looking at me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you looking? That's Both times it's said it's powerful.
Yeah, she does do it twice. Yeah, she says it to her husband. Yeah, and then she makes a face. What do you got? What do you got, Will?
It's fucking adorable.
Yeah, no, that was the one. So fuck you, Knack.
Oh shit.
No, I'm just kidding. No, that wasn't the one. No. When she like Gloria comes back down near the end, and she's like, Audrey just turns to her and she's like, "How would you like to do something difficult and terribly dangerous?" I'd love it. That fucking is such a great quote. And that immediately made me love Gloria. I was like, this bitch is fucking annoying. But then, like, as soon as she busted that, I was like, all right, you're pretty great.
Gloria gave off a rough impression being a snot rag initially, but she made up for that, I believe.
Agreed.
Oh yeah.
Yo, she put Gloria in danger. She's like, I want you to walk across New York in the middle of the night to a bus station and sit there all night by yourself.
It's so good.
She's all for it though.
Yeah. Of course, I'd love it.
Hope we could do this again. We should do stuff like this more often. Is what she said.
That's what she says. Yeah, gee, I wish something like this would happen every day. That was the other quote that I wrote down.
Do you have a favorite quote, Jeff?
No.
Oh yeah.
Oh well, there you go.
Not really.
I know it's not that amazing for quotes. Like I have 2 written down, but it's mostly because I like the scene. But I'll say it anyway. I like when Alan Arkin screams, "Don't touch that!" right as she smashes the light and he throws the knife.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just a good scene. Yeah. And the other
Don't
one,
touch that.
I like it when, and we didn't talk about this, but it's such a good moment and it's suspenseful when Susie walks into the apartment and they're all there and they all have to stand still.
Yeah,
I mean, that's almost one of the best suspense scenes in the movie.
Yeah, that one's really good.
And then as she's about to leave, I think she can smell them. She says, "Gloria, I know you're there."
That's exactly what it is.
All
That's
right.
what I liked about it. It was so, they made it so credible that she has only been blind for a year.
Yeah.
That's what it was for me. Like, she was still, when she's moving around the apartment, she's still kind of like just touching door frames and just general surroundings and still just kind of trying not to be too, try not to knock things over, I guess. She's
she's
being
really
very
realistic
careful.
about it. Like
Yeah.
she does bump into a chair one time, but that's because one of the criminals had moved it.
And
Yeah, she even says that's not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
yeah, another scene that kind of I thought about, not that it really means a whole lot, but when she's talking, when I think his name's Shatner, the guy who lives upstairs, when she's talking with him outside and his engine kind of just gives off that nasty sound when he drives off and she twinges at it.
Yeah.
I
That
was
guy was a total character.
I'm pretty confident it was just putting a little more on her sensitivity to sound and her being blind, but it was I almost felt like it was setting something up to be heard again. I was almost expecting, like,
Oh.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't know what to think of it. It just kind of just something like I said, something I just thought about, not really with any real direction, but
Yeah, they just wanted to establish that she's sensitive to sound. And the other reason that scene is significant, it's one of the worst scenes in the movie because that guy's such a bad actor. But they established that like he left and that she's alone in the building except with Gloria.
okay, that's the yes. Okay.
We've already hit on a few things we don't like, but if you guys want to hit on them again, because I got some things I don't like about this movie as well. I don't like how Audrey Hepburn kind of talks out loud. Like when she figures out the door is locked, she says, "Carlino." I mean, she's talking to the audience. She's letting us know that she realized Carlino locked the door. And
Oh, well, I guess
when
Joe just played us and he's actually a sane person.
It's just unnecessarily exposition, I guess.
it's exposition, yeah. And then when she realizes the door's locked, she goes down the stairs and she says, "Window." She's going to try and escape through the window. She just talks to herself. I don't know.
I don't know. I talk to myself a bit, man. I'm just like a crazy person, I guess. But
No. I will argue that having even audible conversations with yourself is a healthy brain activity. I will argue that.
Thanks, Knack. Sweetheart.
Shut up! Shut the fuck up!
I mean, you don't got to put yourself out there like that for me, bud. But hey, I'll take it. I'm just sociopathic enough for that. So
I won't go. I can't necessarily say what I've read on it, but there's
that
nothing
is-
wrong with it.
That is right, yeah.
and I wonder if part of that is from her being blind too, right? Because I mean, the second that you lose any of your senses, you are immediately more lonely in the world. And being blind, that's got to be that or sound are the biggest ones, right?
Hearing your own voice can be a real comfort in
Yes.
being a blind person. I can only imagine.
It's got to be. It's the only thing you have at that point, right? It's the only thing that you're guaranteed to have with you at all times. I mean, besides your body, but
Right.
like, you feel your body all the time. You don't hear your voice constantly. Except
Make
when
sure
you do.
all your other senses are there.
Yeah. No, it has to be. I've heard that deaf people say that being deaf is the worst because then you don't hear, and there's no sound ever, right? So you are the most lonely then. And that makes sense, but I'm sure being blind probably isn't far behind that.
Absolutely.
I'm sure it's a grass is greener thing
Right,
in
yeah.
general for both groups.
Hey, being deaf sucks more, man.
Right.
Fuck you, blinders forever.
Forgot to say, welcome in, Molander.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
I didn't want to interrupt, so.
Yeah.
surprise Molander.
You probably didn't watch it?
No.
Okay.
Oh, well, you should.
Okay.
I'm not even kidding. Like I think you really would like this movie. Just
Yeah?
give it a chance. Yeah.
Yes, please give this movie a chance. Yeah,
It's great, dude.
Okay.
I mean, I recommended it to you as
yeah,
well.
that's what I'm like. Not that I don't really need much convincing of Joe's Rex so far. Like
They've all been fantastic.
I want to hit on some other things I don't like about the movie. Lack of chemistry between Sam and Susie. Did you guys feel like they're a real married couple?
I mean, but the hug was a little weird.
only a little bit. The most I got out of that was the final scene where Gloria guides Susie to Sam's embrace, and
Yeah, that was weird.
she's in tears. I was in tears. Like honestly, I was. Wow, Hepburn's performance is moving as shit. I can't say it.
Powerful.
That's not that much heroin.
That's another big
That's
plot
not
issue.
a whole lot of heroin.
Why don't they just recoup their losses? I mean, it's not really worth it. Yeah.
Bro, all this for like a few $100 and some horse.
But back then, I don't know. What I did want to say, I did think it was kind of weird how he just stood there and like waited for her to like blind walk over to him. And I get it. It's because he's like trying to make her be better at being blind, like even in that moment. And like, that's all powerful and great and all, but it still felt a little like it felt weird.
Yeah, I know. The ending is weird. In the play, it says there's an extra scene where the police are sort of rude to Susie about being blind, and Gloria sticks up for her. But I don't know. Yeah, I just don't like Sam and Susie as a couple to begin with.
I'm glad we didn't get that. Jeez, that sounds awful.
That would have ruined the movie. The way it ended was almost.
I mean, I get it. You need fucking police immersion and shit like that, but not, like.
But also a cab. Am I right, boys? The podcast does not condone Will Ortman's statement. There, Joe. I took care of it for you.
I will say a couple of things.
I was going to leave that in.
Oh, okay.
A couple of things I guess I didn't really like was I would have Carlino. I guess I just would have liked him to not to be. I don't know. I just got a generally not with it feeling from that character.
I agree.
Like he was a little dim.
Yeah, that's probably just how he was written. But I just wish it was more than that.
For me, it was the acting. Like I don't know. That guy didn't. He seemed like the weakest of the actors, right?
Yeah, but someone's got to do it.
Yeah, fair. They can't all be Ellen Arkins.
And then also just what we mentioned earlier is when she's like, "I'll be whatever you want me to be," is just like a lack of self. Lack of self, I guess, is all I'm trying to say. It's just it's too bad she's being so easily wants to be molded by whatever Sam wants her to be.
I can see a room of like old white men being like, okay, this is a great movie and all, and we love the script, but we can't have a woman being that independent and doing it on her own. We need a man to tell her to do it, so that way she can be that way. Like,
I mean, that's what I do with my wife, and it works out great. So
now we cancel the podcast.
No. I was saying like that's what those guys were saying, not me. No. Hold on. All right, let's move on. I did have something that I liked that I wanted to talk about. Can we talk about that a little?
Yeah, let's hit on any other things that you like about this movie.
We didn't mention this earlier, but I always appreciate it, especially with these older movies, when they have like a really great intro title sequence. And I thought this movie's was pretty great.
Oh, I almost mentioned that as a thing I don't like. I just think the design of the letters "Wait Until Dark" with a different shade of gray, and then black or white just doesn't look good.
I thought it looked decent. I like it when they're like those big kind of bolded letters, and like it's just that's all it does on the screen. You know, it's not like a whole bunch of little titles of like, oh, these were like the 40 fucking actors and shit. It's just like here's like the 3 main guys. This is what's important. Here you go. Granted, this movie only had like 10 actors or something
At most, yeah.
Yeah.
Half of them were Alan Arkin, so.
And anyways, I got one more thing I just want to mention real quick, that if you like this movie, you might like Dial M for Murder, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, because it's a single room murder, and it's a very intricate plot. It's got details that you got to pay attention to, and I think it's just brilliant.
Rope what kind of was too.
Yeah,
you, seem to have a
you would
fetish
like
for
Rope,
single
yeah.
murder mysteries.
Rope was great.
Yep, I'd recommend Rope as well if you haven't seen that, and if you want more Audrey Hepburn, watch Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Definitely, Rope is a little bit more murder mystery than suspense horror kind of shit, though.
Yeah,
that's the vibe I got, at least. I'll have to watch this. Well, you'll just have to recommend M is for Murder or whatever in the future, because I won't watch it. But I'll watch it if you recommend it, and I'm sure I'll love it.
So there's no way we have this movie club, and I'm a part of it, and we don't have a noir.
We've watched 2 of them already,
genre
Jeff.
theme run.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, like a whole genre. Yeah.
Yeah, having a run. Yeah.
A month or whatever.
I took a quick look at the IMDb trivia and goofs. So Arkin was asked why he was overlooked for being nominated for his role in Wait Until Dark, and he said, "You don't get nominated for being mean to Audrey Hepburn."
It's so good. What a fucking genius. That's such a great line. Holy shit.
And I don't know if it was touched on earlier, but she one of the goofs is that Susie doesn't pick up on the phone number that's being dialed when Mike says he's calling that number, and you can tell by the number of clicks what number's being dialed.
No, I actually thought about that while I was watching the movie too, because I thought they were going to do that, because it seemed clever and it seemed like something that they would do, and I was like, it'd be great if she like listened to him dialing and
exactly
listened to it going around.
Thank you. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I guess she missed that. I mean, yeah.
That's for me. Also, applauding how convincing it is that she's only been blind for so long. You know what I mean?
I mean, depending, I guess the first 3 digits would have been the same, most likely.
Almost the same. Yeah, close to the same. Like the way and also how close between the 8 and the 9. But yeah, the signs are there, but not everybody could pick up on them, clearly.
Yeah. Well, if that's all you guys got, we'll talk about ratings. Let's go with you, Will.
10 out of 10, man. This movie was fucking fantastic. Was a little hesitant at the beginning, but then it really came into its own and just knocks it out of the park. That whole last 20 minutes especially is like some of the best just scenes from a movie I've ever seen. Like, I mean, like you said, it has the original jump scare, man. Like, what's not to love?
Awesome. What about you, Knack?
Let's get a 9.5. I'm deducting it only for the again, the lack of self with Susie and just her willing to be under somebody else's direction. But that's it. Like, not 9.5 out of 10, no less.
Gotcha. Awesome. And you, Jeff?
I'm going to have to agree with Knacker. I feel like the movie definitely shoots itself in the foot with that. But if we take that as a sign of the times, it'd be a 10 out of 10. Like, I really like this movie a lot.
That's how I always try to rate the movies, right? Like, I try to put myself into like the shoes of a moviegoer from that era, and holy shit, man, those people must have been freaking the fuck out when this movie came out.
Yeah, I'd give it. I'm giving it lower than you guys. I'd give it a 9 out of 10, I guess.
Oh,
all
Joe
right.
hates his own movie.
Absolutely not. I feel like the lack of chemistry between Sam and Susie kinds of makes it anticlimactic at the end when they're reunited. And you know what Will pointed out about the dead body smelling, that's having that brought to my attention. Yeah.
That's a good point. Real good point.
Sorry, Joe.
No, that's okay. It was getting a 9 either way.
Yeah.
So, are you there, Molander?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So, what are we going to watch next time?
All right. Well, I mean, we're doing a horror category, right? I've
Correct.
got a lot of things I want to recommend here. Like I wanted to do like a campy, shitty slasher movie, or I wanted to do like something really
That'd be a
wacky,
change of
like
pace.
what?
That'd be a change of pace.
Some
Yeah,
campy
I know.
bullshit, yeah.
But like, I'm picking this movie because I think this movie has a lot to say about the horror genre, and I think that'll be an interesting discussion. Plus, it's a really cool movie that I like a whole bunch. So we're doing The Cabin in the Woods.
Ooh.
All right.
Like the newer one?
Recommendation off my fucking list.
It's not knock. It's not knock on the cabin with.
No, it's Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, that's yeah.
You not seen this before, Knacker? Dude, watch
Go
it
in
with
blind.
me.
Going
Watch it.
absolutely blind. I just watched the trailer. Do not
Yeah.
watch the trailer.